Hi everyone, I'm Lisa. Welcome to my channel, Lovely by Lisa, and to my series, The Meal Prep Perspective. Today I'll share with you my meal prep process for the week. Alright, to get things rolling, I'm starting off with my Instant Pot. I'm adding olive oil, diced onions, and mirepoix, which is a mix of onions, celery, and carrots, and we'll then add salt and pepper, and I'll let that saute. I'm such a big fan of an Instant Pot. I grew up with my mom always using a slow cooker, but I feel like the pressure cooker is a little bit more my speed. And I love that I can saute right in here and then turn it on and I'll walk away. And speaking of turning things on and walking away, I'll start my rice in my rice cooker. Then I'll jump back to my soup and it's time to add my garlic that's very finely diced, and I'll add that in. And while that sautés, I diced up my potatoes and I'll set those to the side. After that, I'll remove this mix from the Instant Pot only because it's not big enough. If this Instant Pot was like a commercial grade one, like a giant one, then I would absolutely figure out a way to just put everything in here all at once. But I'll do it in batches so everything can fit and saute nicely. So now that my onions, mirepoix are all done, now I'm going to add my meat. I've got ground chicken and ground turkey. I just wanted to mix here. I'll let that saute for a bit and then I'll add everything back into the bowl. I turned the saute function off and I added some seasonings. I added in dried rosemary, basil, and cayenne pepper. For us, the spicier the better. And once those are all stirred in, then I'll add in my potatoes and I'll follow that with my vegetable broth. I prefer to use the low sodium version just because I like to control how much salt goes in, but so use the version that works for you. Just keep in mind how salty it is. We'll get the lid on and start the pressure cooker and then we'll come back. So today was the day that I got interrupted mid meal prep, so I had to step away and come back later. And I'm saying this because normally while the Instant Pot is working, I'm doing a zillion other things, but today I just had to let it cook while I attended to something urgent. So now we're back and our soup is fully cooked. I gave it a taste, then added some half and half and then some uninspected cheddar cheese. I added a bit more salt after I tasted it again, and then I added in the remaining half and half. Once everything was in there, I also added some veggies. So I grabbed a bag of frozen peas from my freezer that I always keep on hand, and I stirred that in there, and now my soup is complete. I'll set this to the side and let it cool off, but I was so happy with how it turned out, and I'll get started on our next meal. And for lunch, I'm making spicy Thai shrimp fried rice, and I'm using these frozen pre-seasoned mixes from Trader Joe's. And I really love using some of the pre-made mixes, especially the frozen ones. They're so convenient, but I also know I want to add to them to make them more nutrient dense. So that's what I'm doing here. I've got a pre-cut veggie mix, also some baby corn, and some pre-shredded green cabbage that are all ready to be used. And in this frozen meal, there are shrimp, so I cut open each bag and remove the shrimp from the rice so I can cook them separately. Now that my olive oil is hot in the pan, I'll add my pre-cut veggies and let those saute with the lid on. And now it's time for a little interlude, a fun beverage if you will. The viral Diet Coke and protein shake combo. Have you guys tried this yet? I am kind of obsessed. I feel like I was really obsessed last summer, and this summer I'm still all about it. This has to make Coca-Cola so happy that this trend happened, since they own both Fairlife and Coke, obviously, but and I really like it as a quick way to have like a fun drink. It's not like a meal replacement, at least I don't think of it like that. So we'll get back to meal prepping now. For breakfast this week, I'm making apple and apricot cardamom overnight oats. I'm using this jam from Trader Joe's as the base. It's where the apricot and the cardamom flavor is gonna come from. And this is another one of those pre-made things that I just love. Of course, I could make this myself, but it's just so nice to have some things pre-made, you know? I'll divide that between all my meal prep containers. This isn't an incredibly large jar, so I used the whole thing. I added some milk into the jar just so I could get all of the apricot cardamom flavoring in there, and then I spread it in between my husband's meals, and I added some milk to my containers. I'll give this a stir, and overnight oats really are the absolute goat in terms of quick, inexpensive breakfast. And it was then that I remembered, oh yeah, I had some vegetables sauteing, so they are a little burnt, but we're okay, we're all good. I'm removing them out of my saute pan and into a bowl, and then I'll add some more olive oil to my pan and add in my shredded cabbage. And because there's just not enough shrimp in the frozen Thai fried rice packages, I'm adding extra to increase the protein in this meal. So I'll thaw those in my colander, and then I'll get the next round of the cabbage sauteed too. And then I can jump back to breakfast. I'm adding applesauce to these overnight oats to make make them apple, apricot, and cardamom flavored. I had applesauce left over from something else, so I figured why not use the rest in these oats. And because I ran out of milk, I'm adding water to these and then I'll mix them all up. Remember, we want our overnight oats to kind of swim in the liquid that they're in so they don't get too dry while they sit in the fridge. Okay, and now we're back to our stir-fried meal. I'm going to take this round of cabbage out of the saute pan, add some olive oil, saute my baby corns next. Once those are done, I'll take them out of the pan, more olive oil, and now I'm going to use the fried rice mix that I had set aside before. So I'll put that in, add the lid, and while that cooks, I'll portion out my soup. If you ask me what I think one of the hardest things about meal prepping is, it's kind of knowing how and what flow to do everything in. So for each meal, it's going to be a little different. So it's great to have a mix of preparing things different ways so you're not stuck just waiting on the stove or the oven, or, you know, do a mix of like an Instant Pot or things on the stove, things on the oven, etc. Just makes the flow a little easier. There was definitely a lot of jumping around in this video today, but that's super realistic to how meal prep usually goes for me. I'll top the soup with some unexpected cheddar cheese, and these are done, so now we only have the stir fry left. I don't know why I was being so stubborn about only using one pan, but I could have easily grabbed another pan to finish this up faster. Now that the rice is done, I'll mix that in with the finished veggies and we'll saute our shrimp. These will cook so fast, and while they do, we'll portion out the veggie and rice mix into the meal prep containers. Finding your meal prep flow is really just such a skill to learn. I remember when I started meal prepping, I would get so overwhelmed trying to think about making all the meals at once and how to keep everything food safe and not letting things sit on the counter for too long. It was so stressful. What really helped me was writing out the flow that I was going to follow. So trying to think about how and when everything should be cooked and in what order. That was tremendously helpful, especially for my brain that likes to think of everything all at once. And something I still do to this day. All right, the last thing I cooked was the shrimp and the sauce that came with the frozen rice package. So I cooked those and then added in the extra shrimp to distribute the sauce on those too. And then I'll portion these out into my containers. Meal prep has really given me so much more than just full containers in the fridge. It's helped me feel less overwhelmed, more grounded, and way more present in my life. And it's how I care for myself. Nourishing and satisfying food that's never boring. It's about intentional strategies that make health feel joyful. And if you're ready to start meal prepping or take your current meal prep to the next level, subscribe to my channel and we'll do this together. Check out my ebook if you aren't sure where to begin, and we'll build a system that works. I'll see you next time. Bye.